welcome to another episode of Rack and Roll, Future-Proofing Your Warehouse. I'm Ashley Felposh, your host. Today, we're exploring the topic of multi-client operations with 24/7 WMS support. I'm excited to be joined by Brian Henry, Tryon Solutions' very own Director of Customer Care. Hey, Brian, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Ashley.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I'll start by having you introduce yourself and then give us a little background on yourself. Then we can jump right into our topic.
Sure. I'm Brian Henry. As Ashley said, I'm Director of Customer Care here at Tryon Solutions. So I've been at Tryon Solutions about 5 years, or a little over 5 years, I think. But I've been in the support of Blue Yonder applications business for over 20 years. So it's been a long journey. Went from a big corporate place here to Tryon, which is a great fit for me. So I'm loving it so far. Doing
Right.
good
Yeah,
things, I think.
it's exciting when we get to talk to people who are or I get to talk to people who are super experienced, because I just always feel like you guys have a lot to share. So we'll dive into
We'll
the first
see.
question. Why is 24/7 support becoming essential for businesses looking to scale and deliver consistency across all their clients?
So, like, so in today's world, you have a lot of 3PLs, but you have a lot of real-time global supply chains, right? On time, or just in time, always on type of supply chains. Everybody has to be kind of fired at all cylinders at all times, right? We have clients here at Tryon Solutions who operate that way, but you can't have, the big thing is SLAs are very important, right, for these clients or for these businesses, right? They have to make sure that because they are a lot of times right in the middle of the supply chain, right? Things are coming in, things are going out, everything has to be flowing smoothly at all times, so they can't afford any hiccups, or at least not big ones. So the key would be, we have one client right now, I can say, who, if they're down, they are down. They measure that in tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour when they're down, right? So these are things that are super important. Now, if you imagine you have a multi-client scenario where you have a 3PL that's trying to keep track of multiple clients' inventory, it gets to be very serious. So you have multiple SLAs for different clients. You have, different time zones, maybe different facilities in different time zones or different continents, to be honest. So it's super important, getting back to the point, it's super important to have 24-hour support to be able to nurture and make sure that all of these sites, all these plates keep spinning, at all
Absolutely.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense, especially with so many clients relying on consistent performance from that 3PL. It's important to have that support. So on the
Yeah.
flip side of that, what are some of the biggest risks or challenges that come with managing multi-client operations without 24/7 support?
Oh, so kind of essentially what I was just saying. So you have to have all these, the whole supply chain needs to be working together, right? Basically, data integrity is super important. Um, Security is important. All these things are super important, right? What you don't want is delayed resolution. You don't want issues to linger a long time, when they shouldn't. Um, Again, it ends up costing money and time and resources that you may not have allocated for that, right? Again, you have customers or you have clients, you have 3PLs, we're in the middle of the supply chain. You can't really delay, or else it will cost you on the front end and the back end, and it could cost you future business. So it's
Ab-
incredibly important.
abs-
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Word of mouth business, all of those things can be affected. And
Yeah.
those risks can really snowball. They can pile on top of each other, and then things do not go well. And
Exactly.
especially when you have to resolve them, it takes longer. So getting that support or having that support will resolve those issues quickly and they won't pile on top of each other.
Yeah. Client trust is super important, right? You don't want to lose your client trust. If you're talking about, a multi-client environment, you don't want
Exactly.
your clients to up and leave because you can't deliver, you can't perform as well.
Yes.
So it's extremely
Yes.
important to keep your
Very
clients
important.
happy and to, stay on top of everything.
So, in your experience, what separates basic support coverage from true 24/7 WMS support in a multi client environment? So, say a company has a few people that handle 24/7 support within internally versus
Mhm.
going external and hiring somebody to kind of handle that true WMS support.
So I used to work for a company. We technically handled 24/7 internal support that way. Um, it works sometimes to a degree, but then you can get to a place where you find yourself stuck and you don't have the expertise that you need, especially during an off hours scenario, right, where everybody isn't available to, the escalation paths are not available or aren't readily available. So, you're adding time and resources onto an issue that could maybe be resolved more quickly if you had a full mechanism set up in order to handle this on a 24/7 basis. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's best to a lot of times it's good to let the experts do their thing, right? So you wouldn't go to a guy who is a dentist slash, OBGYN slash,
Yeah, exactly. That's a
and
very,
threads
yeah, that's a
eyebrows,
very good, yeah, real life point. You've got
yeah,
experts for a reason. Um,
right.
so
So in
when,
the
and then
case of if I
also,
might,
yeah,
well, I was just going to say, if I might brag on our company, we have professionals in our customer care department. This is what they do. This is all they do. They support, medium to large uh, systems, and this is our expertise. So it's best to let the experts do what they do. Maybe you can maybe you can change a faucet out or something like that. But if you got a serious problem, it's better to call the plumber instead of trying it yourself, right?
because you might
So
flood the house.
amongst other things, yeah.
And
And
then
be
again, more damage. And then, yeah, it all
right.
snowballs very quickly.
Exactly. You're going to end up calling the plumber anyway. You might as well have him on retainer if you can get one, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So in your experience also, like Tryon does have contracts for support with people. Do you find that it's I don't know if easier is the right word, but do you find that it's better when we know the environment? When you find that trusted partner, does it make it easier for them to understand your systems and everything you have going on? So then those tickets or those issues get resolved quicker.
So that is an extremely good point, actually. And that's something that we find that if you have, going back to the analogy, right? If you have a guy that you use all the time, a professional,
Mhm.
they know what's going on. Going back to the plumber scenario, they know that you have a, HVAC system that's right next to your water heater on the second floor, whatever it is, right?
Exactly. Mhm.
They know what's going on and and when you describe a problem to them, they say, "Oh, I know what the issue is," instead of learning what's going on at the time during the middle of a crisis. So with our customers, what we find is the more, the longer we're with them, we get as much information as we can up front, but the longer we're with them, the more help that we can offer because of the fact that we know what's going on with their system. We know how the data flows. We know how the processes flow, all the type of thing. So it's yeah, it's a lot better and it makes a lot more sense to have a trusted professional who's there, all the time because
Sure.
then they can quickly make the issue go away if you have an issue rather than
And this
trying to
is
learn. Yeah,
exactly. And in turn, I think that turns into ROI for a company too, because we can
100%. Yeah,
resolve things quicker. We understand their systems. They're not trying to train somebody new. We're the experts and we come in and do the job and get out. So I
exactly.
think that
Yeah.
that definitely proves that having the trusted right partner for whatever WMS support you need is important.
Oh yeah.
So how does that level of support actually impact operations? So specifically, how does a consultant for WMS support and improve visibility and control across the multi-client accounts?
So as far as improving visibility and control, uh, what I would say is having a service like ours, where we're very proactive in giving you your status, the issues that we've seen in a given period of time. Let's say weekly, we get with you and say, "Hey, here are all the issues that we've seen. These are things that we've taken care of," and you kind of get a real, semi-real time dashboard, if you will, of the health of your system. It's a lot better for visibility from an operational perspective because at that you're always aware of where you stand with regard to um, you know uh, your business, right? So and also with regard to like just the day-to-day operations, if you're having lots of issues and it's not being taken care of, it could be harmful to, it could be a lot harder to see what's going on. If you have, you're getting down in the weeds a little bit, but if you have picks that are not releasing or something like that, you may not be able to see that anywhere on any kind of dashboard or any kind of visibility. But as long as everything's working fine, if you have a partner like Tryon Solutions, for instance, taking care of things in the background, making sure everything is flowing smoothly, then all of your available visibility tools are telling you the truth, if that makes sense.
So visibility is everything when you're talking about your WMS. So that's very helpful. Um, when you think about a go live, you typically have like a post go live support or like a hypercare to make sure everything goes smoothly with that. So what is the difference between that and like a 24/7 WMS support ongoing essentially contract?
So that's a good question. So yeah, when you have a go live, major upgrade or go live, something like that, and then there's usually like a hypercare period, short term, limited, short term period where there's some support that you get, and usually you would resolve any issues that occur during that time, right? Anything that anything that went wrong during testing or during go live up until the end of that hypercare period, which is great, and you need that in every case, right? However, beyond that, just it's a real world out there, and things go wrong. Data comes down, and bad data comes down from a host system, or things get entered incorrectly, or things get misconfigured in some cases, and these things happen, and you need ongoing support for sure. Um, so I would say that it's a both and, not an either or. So you definitely need uh, hypercare period if you have a major go live or upgrade. But it's really important to have that ongoing support relationship with trusted professionals who can get things done, right? Who can take care of those type of things that will come up. They just will.
Absolutely. So last question, last but not least, can you share a real world example where maybe a 24/7 support made a critical difference during off hours for an organization or on hours?
Sure. Well, I can think of several things, but over the years, well, I can tell you recently from this year, actually, we had a major client who had a printing issue that occurred, and it was like Sunday morning, Saturday morning, or something like that. It was off hours. Now it did affect some people who were on shift at that time, but the normal support structure was not available at that time, and so it was super important that they had us around in order to monitor things and to get and gather the resources and everybody who was needed to get the issue resolved as quickly as possible. Again, I mentioned that, before that, you have maybe people who are listening to this right now whose time is measured in tens of thousands of dollars per hour, right? So it's no joke when things are not working. And this happened to be a production plant. So, when they're down, their products are not being produced. That's, that's something you can't have for long as a manufacturing company. So, it's
Absolutely. It
very, yeah,
disrupts so many other pieces and parts
yeah,
of the
everything.
organization.
Exactly. It's very expensive. It's a very expensive issue that you have to get resolved right away, and you can't wait until Monday to get it done, right? Or
Exactly.
until the next day. Another issue where you might have some sort of integration issue between the host system and the WMS that we would be monitoring, and we could tell you, oh, this is down, this should not be down. And even if no one happens to be working at that time with a 24-hour 24/7 support, you have folks who are monitoring things like that, so they can kind of jump on it and figure out what's going on even after hours, even on the weekends. Again, not waiting until shift starts on Monday before we find out that things went sideways, right? So it's super important to to have that in place, have those people in place. And those are just a couple of examples out of, I'm sure, dozens I could probably think of,
Yeah,
given enough time. But
absolutely. Yeah, those quick catches by somebody else can make all the difference, like you said,
oh
on
yeah,
Monday morning when they walk in, or on the weekend. So we're happy to offer that for
yeah,
everyone. And thanks for jumping on today, Brian, and talking to me about this. I really appreciate it. And thanks
no
for
problem.
everyone who joined us on this episode of Rack and Roll. We enjoyed our discussion on 24/7 WMS support for multi-client operations. If you have any questions or want to learn more, feel free to reach out. Our contact information is in the description below. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thanks.